Looking in from the outside, we're in the bottom three. We haven't won yet, so it looks disastrous. 5 draws, 5 defeats, and to be honest, at least 2 of those 5 draws could have been wins, possibly 3. Hello there, my name is Karl Fuller and I am an Ipswich Town columnist for the East Anglian Daily Times and Ipswich Star newspapers, a position I've held since 2012. I'm also author of multiple Ipswich Town books, including my latest published this week, titled For Town and Country, a book that looks at the 12 Ipswich players that have represented England between 1961 and 2000. Available for £12.50 on my website, www.thefullerflavour.co.uk. So let's preview this weekend's game between Tottenham and Ipswich, and what have we made of Ipswich's season so far. Looking in from the outside, we're in the bottom three. We haven't won yet, so it looks disastrous. 5 draws, 5 defeats, and to be honest, at least 2 of those 5 draws could have been wins, possibly 3. Especially at Portman Road, where we've been quite strong at times. Last week, we really should have got our first win. We were held to a 1-1 draw with Leicester City, and let's be truthful, if it wasn't for good old VAR, we probably would have gone on to win that game. If you haven't seen the foul on Connor Chaplin, which should have been a penalty, give it a look, and I'm sure unless you're a referee, you'll agree it was a foul. How VAR didn't ask the referee, Tim Robinson, to get involved and have another look is anyone's guess. We've been on the wrong end of some VAR decisions in the last 3 games. If it evens itself out, let's hope it starts to do so sooner rather than later. Draws also at home to Fulham and Aston Villa, where we finished both games the stronger side, could have gone on to win, and plenty of encouragement to come out of those games. I would say out of our 10 games so far, perhaps West Ham away, Everton at home, we haven't really been at the races in those 2 games. But overall, there is plenty to be encouraged about. But of course, this is the Premier League. We do make errors and they're punished. Hopefully it's only a matter of time before we do pick up our first win. But we've got, let's face it, 3 tough games ahead of us now, starting with Tottenham. As for Kieran McKenna, what a job he's done since he joined the club. He came to Portman Road off the back of Paul Cook leaving, and before that we had Paul Lambert, Paul Hurst, and the club was just really going nowhere. We had a takeover from the American group Game Changer 20 Limited, a change at board level. Mark Ashton came in and they made a really brave, astute signing in Kieran McKenna. And for a lot of the fan base, we were all sort of thinking, who hadn't heard of him? And yeah, it really was a brave decision. But having got his feet under the table, so to speak, in his first half season, his then next 2 full seasons took us from League One to the Championship, and then the Championship to the Premier League. Phenomenal job. Even with not winning in the Premier League so far this season, he's managed 125 league games, 67 wins, 19 defeats. I've only seen 8 defeats, to be honest, and it's just been a pure joy to watch and sort of pinch yourself moments at many times. Last season in the Championship, many fans of other clubs thought that we would fall away, wouldn't last the distance, but we just kept proving them wrong, churning out win after win with some great football, some great goals. And have we got promoted too quickly? Possibly, but you take it as it comes. And yeah, it's just been a phenomenal 2 years, really. Realistic aims for this season, give me 17th place all day long. I said that before the first ball was kicked. I'll say it even more so after these first 10 games. if Ipswich can get over that wave of the first season, survive, we have got the infrastructure behind us to push on next season. We are limited with the financial fair play rulings as to what we can spend. We have the money, but we just can't spend it as perhaps we would wish. Although having said that, we pushed the boat out in the summer with over £100 million worth of signings. And yeah, if we can just turn these draws, positive performances into some wins and push on from there, which I think we could do in the second half of the season, then who knows, let's get 17th, stay up, and then next season push on from there. My thoughts on Tottenham so far this season, and Ange Postecoglou. You've certainly scored some goals, and it does worry me for tomorrow. 4-0 against Everton, 3-1 against Brentford, and then 4-1 wins against West Ham and Aston Villa. And I take a bit of hope that because you are quite front foot and scoring goals quite open, that we might be able to catch you on the break and score a goal or two. And repeat really what we did at Brentford a couple of weeks ago when we went 2-0 up against a very good team. And Postecoglou, it kind of made me think when you brought him in from Celtic, and at a time during the start of the summer when Kieran McKenna was being touted to be talking to the likes of Manchester United, Brighton, Chelsea, I kind of thought his next job really would be at Tottenham before going on to Manchester United. And how would he step from Ipswich to one of those two clubs? Well, you could see him going to somewhere like Celtic. And for many years, you thought being a manager in the Scottish Premier League wouldn't really get you a top job in England. But obviously, Postecoglou went from Celtic to Tottenham, and he's just been doing a great job there, looking in from the outside, and got off to what I consider to be a good start to this season. Going back to Ipswich, 22 years outside the top flight, full of apathy, deja vu moments. We had a couple of spells under Joe Royle and then Mick McCarthy where we reached the playoffs. But other than that, it was just 20-odd years of dour, rubbish football. Those Ipswich fans that were still going to games were there because it was their drug. They were addicted, including myself. Crowds were being announced at 13,000, 14,000 when there was probably 10,000 in the ground. And it was just real dire times. And to be honest, you just did not see light at the end of the tunnel. You didn't see a way out of it until, as I alluded to, the new American ownership group came in, along with Mark Ashton, and somehow just found the magic formula to turn the club around, put a proper infrastructure in place. We've got proper directors of football and finance and all sorts in the background, really running the club as a proper football club now. And yeah, it has it made up for 22 years of rubbish? Not yet, there's a long way to go, but they've made a damn good start. So back to Ipswich visiting Tottenham, and my favourite memory has to be a game at White Hart Lane back in January 1993. It was my first ever visit to White Hart Lane, and sorry Spurs fans, Town won 2-0. Goals came from Boncho Guenchev and Frank Yallop, and it was a great performance. Yallop's goal was a thunder strike from outside the penalty area, and what I remember fondly about that is 3 days later, Yallop, who never scored goals really for Ipswich, went and scored again in a 2-1 home win against Manchester United. And maybe it could just be a little turn of fate that we've got Spurs this weekend, and then our next game is Manchester United. So let's hope for another fallback, Leif Davis, to score against Spurs in a 2-0 win tomorrow, and then against Manchester United in our next game. That's dreaming and being hopeful for you. The Spurs players I fear, all of them. But if I had to pick 3, obviously Son, fantastic footballer, one of the best in the Premier League, very consistent, been a great performer year after year. Interesting to see Brennan Johnson, son of former Ipswich striker David Johnson, of course. He's also in good form, and he'll be looking to put one over his Welsh colleagues Wes Burns and Nathan Broadhead. And I've got to mention him, haven't I? Ex-Norwich James Maddison scored in a 1-0 win for the Budgies at Portman Road a few years ago. It's almost written, isn't it, that he might score again this weekend in a 1-0 win. Hopefully not, but yes, they're the three that I probably will look out more than anyone else. But as I say, probably fear every Spurs player on the form that you're in the league. As for town players that Spurs fans should look out for, we probably haven't really got an out-and-out outstanding player other than maybe Liam Delap, who scored 5 goals so far in the Premier League this season. Very strong, England under-21 international. As you would have seen, possibly his goal against Fulham and where he nearly scored at Brentford makes chances out of nothing. Could have had another goal actually away at Brighton where he picked the ball up in our own half, then ran the rest of the length of the field before striking the post. Quick, strong, eye for goal, and one for Spurs fans to watch. Our record signing, Amari Hutchinson, has a lot of trickery. Has been used a lot in the centre this season in the number 10 role, but probably stronger out on the right, played out on the right in last week's draw against Leicester. Had an excellent game and can create chances out of nothing, and also has a good eye for goal. Leif Davis, also a player that has been mooted to get an England call-up. He didn't in the latest squad, but somebody that is excellent going forward. Set a new record in the Championship last season for the most assists. Scored a great goal against Leicester, improving all the time defensively. And who knows, by the end of the season, he could make my latest book out of date by becoming the next Ipswich player to play for England. And a special mention for Connor Chaplin, who hasn't really been featuring much this season, but came back into the side recently at Brentford, played there and also against Leicester, put in a good performance, and probably on his day another player to watch. But our best performers this season have been 2 defenders actually, I would say, other than Liam Delap, in Axel Twanzebe and Jacob Greaves, both currently injured. Thankfully both should be back after the international break. The Spurs game has come a game too soon for the pair. Delap's not been seen since the end of October. Twanzebe not seen since the end of September. And he's been out actually with the most innocuous injury going. Cut his hand, nearly lost his thumb in a washing up incident. So probably another little example of luck this season that hasn't gone our way. We've certainly missed him, former Manchester United player, and looking forward to him getting back. So what sort of game am I expecting? I'm a realist, so I'm expecting a game where we're going to have to dig deep. Tottenham are going to come forward in numbers. Your goal scoring record this season is excellent, so we're going to have to really be strong at the back and not make the mistakes we've been making with any hope to keep the goals conceded down to 0, 1, 2 at the most. But we do go forward on the break well, and would I be surprised if we scored? No. Do we need to score more than 1, maybe 2 to get anything out of the game? Probably yes. So, look, I'm going to go to the game with a bit of hope. I'm not going to be pessimistic. I never am. But like I say, I'll be realistic. So I do expect a very hard game. Probably a Tottenham win. But just hope that Ipswich can give a good account of themselves and VAR has a day off. Let's just have a day off from VAR. Last season we had a lot of decisions go against us, and we thought if we got to the Premier League, at least VAR will be on our side, in our corner, and would help us out. But it's yet to do so. So I just don't want to see it at all. So, predicted lineup for Ipswich, pretty much the same as last week, I would guess. That would be Aro Muric in goal. Muric has had his critics, probably at fault for Brentford's last-minute winner in our 4-3 defeat there a couple of weeks ago. So he came back strongly last week, made some big saves for us actually, so we need to remember those. And then I would say former West Ham player Ben Johnson will retain his place at right back. Harry Clark is available after a one-match suspension, but I can't see after Johnson's performance last week him being dropped. And then in the middle, that would be Dara O'Shea, who signed from Burnley in the summer, alongside Cameron Burgess, who has been with Ipswich since our League One days, and obviously Leif Davis at left back, another one who's been with us since League One. We play a 4-2-3-1. The two in front of the back four will be our captain Sam Morsey, Mr. Dependable, another one of our League One players. Probably the first name on the team sheet for me. Doesn't do a lot wrong. Really strong with the ball going forward. I know he was at fault perhaps last week against Leicester, but no doubt tiredness played its part there. But great footballer. He'll be alongside, I say Jens Kajust, but I think it's Jens Kahuste. Jens is on loan at Ipswich from Napoli. Had a spell out with injury. Calvin Phillips would have lined up alongside Sam Morsey, but he was sent off last week in the aftermath of Ipswich not being awarded a penalty. Phillips has his doubters across the country, but I've been in the main pleased with his contribution at Ipswich. He's a player that has got better, will get better, and I think he's found a club and a manager where ultimately his career can get back on track. So we'll miss him tomorrow, but Kahuste has been an able replacement. And then the three in front, I don't see that being unchanged from last week. That'll be Amari Hutchinson on the wing. On the right, Connor Chaplin through the middle. And Sammy Smodic out on the left, who joined us from Blackburn in the summer. Former Colchester player, of course, as well in Peterborough. Sammy has already scored this season for us at Manchester City and at Brentford. Good player. Probably wasted a little bit out on the left, although he doesn't hug the left touch line perhaps like Jack Clark, former Tottenham player, probably would do if Clark was to play in that position. And then up front, probably Liam Delap, but don't be surprised if we see George Hurst. Again, George Hurst, another one of our League One squad players. Very strong, scored also at Brentford. He's got good pace, excellent eye for goal. And if he was to play instead of Liam Delap, he wouldn't let us down, and I'd have no problem with that. But I do expect Delap to start up front. So there's my prediction and my thoughts on tomorrow's game. Looking forward to it. Be my first ever visit to the new ground. Can't wait. And a reminder, my book, For Town and Country, featuring the 12 Ipswich players that played for England. It's on the website www.thefullerflavour.co.uk. Thank you for having me. Enjoy the game and enjoy the rest of your weekend.